The second round of the Chunin exams begin, and Urashiki Otsutsuki goes fishing for some Gaara chakra. The second round of the Chunin exams begins, and this is where things start to get a little more intense. That being said, I do have some problems with this episode, as it's mostly a straight adaptation of the movie arc, with some minor changes. That being said, there are some things that they added to this episode that I absolutely loved. I especially love that we get to learn that apparently while Gaara was on his way to Konoha Village, he was attacked by Urashiki Otsutsuki, and Urashiki again displayed why he's such an awesome character. Not only is his personality just incredibly brash, crass, and awesome, but his chakra fishing rod can practically break through any technique. What I mean by this is he actually appears suddenly on the train, just teleporting into Gaara's car, and Gaara tries to protect himself with his signature sand. But Urashiki's fishing hook is able to phase directly through it, going right into Gaara's chest, ripping out his very powerful chakra. The fact that his sand couldn't even deflect it, or the fact that it really couldn't even do anything, speaks volumes for Urashiki's powers, and the fact that he can simply break through things with these chakra abilities just shows that the Otsutsuki clan is on a completely different level. That and just, for someone like Gaara to be just tricked up by someone like this, really shows that you just don't want to mess with these guys at all. And before they can even stop Urashiki, he just immediately teleports away. Now, that's far and away the biggest addition to this episode. Most of the episode, though, is basically an adaptation of the events from the movie, just expanded upon a little bit with the introduction of some of the new teams. In the movie, Metal Lee didn't really have a defined team. Here, he is joined, of course, by Iwabe and Denki, who unfortunately just don't really get to do too much. The same goes for Sumire and her team. I was just sort of hoping they would maybe expand on them a little bit, and maybe even give them an entire episode dedicated to their battles. No, it pretty much plays out almost exactly like the movie version. In fact, the whole second round of the Chunin exam is a game of capture the flag, where you have all three-man teams coming together. One person has to try and protect the flag, while the other people have to go after their opponent's flags, which of course means conflict, combat, and lots of unique ninja abilities. And what I really love about this episode is we finally got to see some of the big heavy hitters in action, such as Shinki and his squad. Shinki in particular was awesome in this episode, and there is one minor change they make from the movie, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a spoiler warning right here before we go any further. You have been warned. So, in this episode, you have Metal Lee and his team who are battling against Shinki. Denki has just had his world completely rocked. He has probably never been damaged this much in the entire series, and his entire body is just like implanted in this wall. There's a giant crater behind him. It's implied that basically there's nothing he can do. Even Iwabe ends up getting caught by Shinki's sand, and that's when Metal Lee goes on the attack. And in the movie, it pretty much goes the same route, where Metal Lee tries to fight against him and his sand, but can't seem to do anything. In the movie version, however, they do get to show that not only can Shinki use sand, but he's also a puppet user, something that they don't actually show in the anime version, and my guess is for that is they don't want to reveal it to the viewer quite yet. But for people who've seen the movie, they know exactly what is going to be coming. But while Metal Lee is distracted by Shinki's sand, Shinki actually uses his sand to sneak around him and ends up grabbing his flag. A similar situation happens with Sumire and her team, where they end up getting caught by Yurui's bubbles, and they're basically out of the game. Really, this entire, action sequence is a build-up to seeing the main characters, which are Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki, going up against the hidden mist triplets. And what I love about this is how they actually build up to this scene. In the first half of the episode, you get to see that Boruto's really angry with the fact that he just cannot master the shuriken training that Sasuke has been teaching him. But Sasuke also tries to reinforce the fact that even if you are really good at a technique, you're going to have to strengthen said technique, even if it's something that you're not really good at. For the fact that Sasuke can create a ton of Kage Bunshin clones, Boruto can only create a couple. And considering that he's the son of the dude who's basically the master of that technique, he realizes that this is going to be something of an uphill battle, and he claims that one day he'll be able to make 10,000 clones. I don't know when that's going to happen, but let's just wait and see. What I will say is in the battle with the triplets, Boruto's the one who's actually guarding the flag, and he goes up against all three of them, which all also know the Kage Bunshin technique. And when all three of them use them, they're able to make 2 extra clones, which means 9 against Boruto's 5. And for the most part, they have the upper hand in the battle, to the point where they actually have to push Boruto to use his ninja technology gauntlet. And he actually uses a water-style technique to drown everyone and then hits him with a big lightning-based technique to take them all out. Now, this is a really risky move, as whenever you use the ninja technology, you don't have to weave signs at all. This is something that Tenten actually notices, but she sort of just thinks that maybe Boruto's awesome, because he's the son of the current Hokage. She realizes how awesome Naruto is, so Boruto has to be the same way, but still one of Katasuke's goons is watching out and even gives him a little message saying it's the first time that he used it. Boruto doesn't even seem all that upset over the fact that he did use it. There's even a moment where it seems like Sarada is trying to interrogate him a little bit about it, but she's just noticing his eyes are a lot bluer than Naruto's. And speaking of Naruto, we actually get a nice father-son moment at the very end of this episode where Naruto actually shows up at his house and acknowledges his son. I know, crazy, right? Nutty concept for him, but it's a big moment because we get to see that the relationship between these two is really starting to patch up. You know, Boruto doesn't want to get caught by his father that he's using these techniques, but at the same time, he wants his praise. He's just not going to say it out loud. He still calls him a stupid old man, but now he's doing it with a big smile on his face. And I have to admit, it is kind of a tender, loving moment. But still, there's something wrong here. Hinata clearly realizes that her son is up to something. She just can't fully pinpoint it, and I don't know why he keeps trying to hide this thing. Why doesn't he just take it off and put it in a drawer somewhere? I don't know. He's really risking it by keeping it on the entire time. But now that he's used it, he knows that he can use it again. And that's definitely going to come to a head much later on in this arc right here. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? Despite the fact that a lot of stuff was reused in this episode right here, I definitely got a lot of enjoyment out of this one. It amazes me that they're actually able to stretch out these events a little bit, but mostly because they added some scenes with Denki, Iwabe, Sumire's team, not to mention that great scene with Urashiki attacking Gaara, which to me was probably the best part of the episode, only for how incredibly ominous it was. For these guys to be able to just teleport anywhere, it's insane. They're like freaking Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. They can just teleport wherever they need to, and their commanding power allows them to take control of everyone. While Gaara himself, it is implied that he's not necessarily the Jinchuriki of Shukaku anymore. He still has the ability to communicate with him, and Urashiki was still probably able to take a good amount of chakra from his body, which visibly disturbed Gaara as well. I also really loved when Gaara made his appearance in this episode, where you have Sasuke and Chojuro who are hanging out on the cliffs of Konoha, when suddenly Gaara appears and Chojuro calls him out for being late, but Gaara's like, nah, you guys were just too early. I think he totally just Gandalfed them, and that was pretty freaking great. But yeah, this is basically just an extension of the movie version, but for people who've never seen it, I imagine it's probably pretty exciting. I mean, obviously the movie animation looks a lot better than it actually does in this episode, but for the most part, for a weekly anime series, this is a pretty solid looking episode, and I can't wait to see what's going to go down in the third round when we actually move on to the actual competition. Now, my only problem with this episode is that I really feel that there was a lot of missed opportunities, mostly for Metal Lee and Sumire's team, for the fact that they really just don't do anything, which is kind of a disappointment because they're all so unique and new for the series, but maybe they just couldn't think of anything to do for them, and they had to keep in line with some of the elements of the actual movie and the manga version, so I guess they felt the need to actually cut them from the story, which is kind of a shame because, like I said, they all seem really cool. I would have loved to see more of Sumire and her team in action, and I was really hoping that Denki and Iwabe were really going to surprise me in this Chunin exam, and unfortunately, that's pretty much it for them. For the Chunin exam, I have to say, there is still a possibility with some of the events which are going to happen later on this arc that we could see a lot of these characters actually do something really interesting. We'll just have to wait to see what that is. Until that actually happens, though, let's get pumped for the next big part of the Chunin exam. This episode right here was still pretty solid, outside of just some reused stuff that we've seen from the movies, but that's pretty much exactly what we expect from this arc currently. Otherwise, it was really entertaining, and I imagine that new fans, people who never saw the movie or read the manga, are definitely going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this one, which is why I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It's definitely worth your time, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If any of you guys did watch this episode, tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What did you think of that awesome Urashiki scene? How was he able to break through Gaara's sand like that? What was the deal with that? What do you hope to see from the next big part of the Chunin exam and the rest of this arc? Give me all your thoughts, comment section below. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay down, baby.